Now let's start the class today. Let me start with this. Okay. Let me start with okay, one of the kind of hot topic these days. It's about fourth industrial revolution. Uh, we're going to discuss about this. Some notes first. Um, Sometimes people talk about fourth industrial revolution, and sometimes usually people use industry 4.0, and sometimes the terms used interchangeably, but in my opinion they're not the same. The fourth industrial revolution is not limited to industry per se, because it can cover other areas such as smart cities, because it's part of the, like the industrial revolution, but it's not as part of factories per se. Okay, so when I think about it, industry 4.0 is usually limited or restricted to factories, manufacturing plants, and things like that. But that's okay. We can use them interchangeably as long as we understand the context. Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is reference. There are many references on the fourth industrial revolution, but the one that I thought it's the best is this book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution by Klaus Schwab. One of the nice thing about this book is that Klaus Schwab is actually one of the first person to toss in the terminology. He's not. I'm assuming he's not the first one, but his book is very good. His book explains many things about the fourth industrial revolution. It's not a thick book, and it's also very readable. What I mean by readable is it's not very technical, and yet he does not water it down when he talks about certain things, certain concept. He's very good in explaining that concept, and that concept in details, but not in terms of the technical details. So this is a good book. Go get it and find it. I guess you can find it also on the internet. But I love physical books. That's why I still have this physical book. But uh, when I read this, it took me quite a while to finish the book. It's not because it is difficult to read, but sometimes when I read, when I read one page, for example, or two pages, I have to think about it. Oh, okay. Well, there are many issues that we have to think about the fourth industrial revolution. For example, is the fourth industrial revolution good for Indonesia? Well, which we have people tell us that we have lots of population, and that's a good thing. But according to this, that might not be the case. Our advantages become less and less important because we have machines to do and to replace some of their tasks. So that's something that we have to consider. The fourth industrial revolution. We cannot avoid them, obviously, but what to do, and we have to be ready for it. Okay, so this is a good book if you need something as your reference. So that's that. Now, the next one is probably you've seen this slide, and this slide has been used over and over and over her again in many presentations. But I thought this is a good slide, and it explains everything in one slide. So it talks about the first industrial revolution. Let me just change my pointer into laser. The first industrial revolution, second industrial revolution, third industrial revolution, and the fourth industrial revolution. Let me go through this one by one. Okay. The key point of the first industrial revolution is mechanization. So this was basically uh, driven by water-powered system or steam powered, which basically can help can help mankind to do things that were so difficult if we are using our bare hands or kind of our muscle. So the first industrial revolution was actually a revolution because it changed many things. So, but everything was mechanics at that point. Okay. second industrial revolution, the main point of the second industrial revolution was that electricity became available and it became part of assembly line. You have assembly line, you creating parts and products. So instead of one person doing many things, uh, the business process was changed so that one person is doing one thing and one thing only. It was very focused, so you can create more products in a shorter time. So this was a second industrial revolution. The third one was more into automation. Um, in the second industrial revolution, we have the process was there, but everything was done by human because at that time machines, digital machine was did not exist yet, and everything was kind of human driven. But this we have in the third industrial revolution, we have electricity. Electricity is everywhere, ubiquitous. So you go everywhere, there's electricity given. And then the second things, there were computers. Computers were everywhere, and we can program these computers to do many things. And we can program kind of robots, but these robots were special purpose robots, and they were doing certain things only. For example, picking parts, welding, soldering, but they're automated, so that we don't have human in part of the process, or actually we reduce human in parts that are kind of very technical, or need, or parts that need lots of accuracy. Then you can replace those with robots. And robots, you can assign robots to do 24 hours work, right? If you have human, then it's considered human rights abuses, so because of the computers, robots, and we have also communication technologies, then the third industrial revolution was there. Now we have certain kind of technologies to master in this third industrial revolution. We have computer technology. Obviously, we have to learn how to program these robots, and there are computers dedicated for this. Embedded systems. We'll talk more in further classes. We'll talk about this hardware. We have embedded system, PLCs on board computers and things like that. But they're very special purpose. But again, we have to master the computer technology. The internet was there also in the third industrial revolution, although it was not as ubiquitous as today. It was not pervasive as today, but the internet was there. Um, not all companies were using the internet, but some companies are using the internet technology, kind of, meaning using local area network and things like that. But they're not connected to the internet per se. You cannot access their machines directly from the internet, but they're already network. Then also we have in the third industrial revolution, we also have e-commerce. E-commerce started to appear. We can buy things through some sort of electronic marketplace, or website or home pages at that time. Okay, so we can do that, although it was not as complex as today, but it was there. For big companies, you can order certain things, and some of the transactions may be limited to business process, but the foundation is already there. Mobile phones, mobile application, and tablets were started to appear. And originally, these mobile phones, mobile application, tablets were being used for personal use, at offices and things like that, but mainly for offices and personal communications. And then these mobile phones and tablets, they're becoming cheaper, and they have more powerful computing power, and it is possible to buy and use them as part of manufacturing processes. It is also possible these days. In terms of the development of the software, originally, if we look at this third industrial revolution, software was there, but software was not being used as part as a business process properly. In school, where they teach software, usually they teach software in terms of scientific processes, engineering processes. But the software has become part of the business process, so software has become part of the plans. So then the software development life cycle becomes shorter, and software is everywhere. Although most of the software are not what do you call it, a computer science kind of type software, because some of the software were developed by non-computer scientists or non-computer engineers. For example, you need certain things to automate certain things. You get somebody who love to tinker around and play with the hardware. You ask them to program, okay, can you do this, can you do that, can you extract data and things like that. And you got this software, the automated process, and it was part of your daily lives, although they're not developed according to the computer science kind of software development life cycle. In the class about the software, we'll talk more about the SDLC. But in this case, basically, we already have software, we have hardware, and they help us in industry, basically. Okay. Now, the fourth industrial revolution adds to that, and the term that most people use is cyber physical system, meaning that now there is a direct connection between the cyber world, and the real world, the physical world, and there's a connection. It used to be one way. For example, you get data from the machines, or sometimes you can command the machines. Sometimes you have to go to the physical machine to command it. But now there's a physical, not physical. There's a direct connection between the physical system and the cyber system, and this needs to be thought carefully. Now we have a bunch of sensors in machines and also in our daily lives, and the sensors provide the computers at the back end, provide data to the computers at the back end. It used to be like that. We have all the data, but we don't actually command, or we don't actually react on it. Now, what makes it different, the fourth industrial revolution and third industrial revolution, is you have actuators. You actually command the machine to do certain things. So the connection between the cyber world and the physical world becomes very closely related or tied. Now we talked about a new kind of technologies in the Internet of Things, robotics. I'll talk more about this. But now let's talk about the the terminology, the Industry 4.0. Uh, Now this may be wrong, but this is my impression. I could be wrong. This is my impression. The term of Industry 4.0 came from Germany, actually. It originated from Industrie 4.0. Now, we know that Germany is very good in manufacturing, right? They're very good in creating products that use fine machineries. They're very good engineering wise. So Germany is very good in terms of the industry. But they're losing ground to the Chinese. The manufacturing plants are becoming better and better and better. In the old days, when we have products, and usually we compare products, for example, we label a bad product usually coming from Chinese. It's made in China, for example, right? If you have toys, okay, this is made in Germany and this is made in China. The made in China will break down will be broken for 2 weeks, for example. You have glasses. Oh, okay, this glass is made in China, very cheap, but it will break in a couple months. So China was kind of labeled or thought as the lower grade of industrial process. But the Chinese, they're getting better and better and better. Their manufacturing processes becoming better, and the machines are becoming better. So, in my opinion, the Germans, they got scared. Oh, okay, we are losing ground to the Chinese. We have to do something about it. So they started. Okay, we have to take the lead again, and we move forward to the previous year, and we have to start with industry 4.0. We have to master it. We have to become better. Now the German is are still better than the Chinese, but they're losing ground, because the Chinese are getting closer to closer and closer. So the Germany said, oh, okay, we have to start industry 4.0, where everything, components talk to machines. We have parts talk to the machine. Hey, okay, I'm ready, can you pick me up and put me shelf it somewhere. And also we have self-driving forklifts, getting products, putting the products in the shelves, and so on and so forth. And everything is kind of automated and kind of smart. So there are several topics related to this fourth industrial revolution. Just like there are topics to master, we have topics to master in the third industrial revolutions, but we have also topics related to fourth industrial revolution. We have things that we need to master. We need to master Internet of Things, big data, data science, artificial intelligence, AI, machine learning, deep learning, 3D printing, additive manufacturing, augmented reality, virtual reality, robots, autonomous systems, cybersecurity, and so on and so forth. In fact, there are, taken from this slide, there are 30 technologies that will change the world, or that will, I guess, stay in the next decade. We'll talk more about this. But let me go back to this. Okay, so if you look at this, then the industry 4.0 is actually a combination of all these things. And it's just impossible to get one person to understand all of this. So this has to be a teamwork, and a group of people who are mastering this technology, the technologies. Okay, so that's the thing. You have, from this slide, you'll see that there's simulation before you have your product. You have simulating your products. When it's ready and it's okay, then you actually build the system. You have autonomous robots, just like in third industrial revolution, but the data feed by all these robot sensors. They have lots of data, the velocity of data, the size of data, the veracity of data, and so on. So now we have big data. How do we manage all this big data? How do we chew, manage, or understand this data, this large volume of data, vast amount of data? Then scale is our enemy here, and then we have to do something about it. Then we have augmented reality, where you can have your workers to augmented with certain technologies. For example, you have Google Glass. The worker can wear Google Glass, so instead of looking at manuals, physical manuals, when you're in field, you can say, oh, okay, what are those? Okay, what are those components? And you say, oh, okay, let me, and then you talk to the glass and identify that component, and said, oh, okay, this is component number 3 is this and that. Okay, open the reference or the spec of this component, and it will talk to the server and get the documentation, and can you read it? Oh, okay. So that's what's supposed to do, and basically you have an interaction with the environment in more like augmented reality. You augment the reality with certain cyber world kind of thing. Okay, and then the other thing is 3D printing. It's there, so it is different. The concept is different. We used to have a machine, so you have a bulk of, I don't know, metal. You take certain parts of the metal to build something, but now you add things. So the thing is, the concept is different. So now you have additive manufacturing. It used to be toy problems when you have 3D printers. It used to be for very small toys. You can make things, you can make any. But now it is becoming real, and it is part of a business process, and their products are kind of become real products. Meaning the same thing with because we have network, we have computers technology. Instead of us everything running in our premises, we have cloud computing technology. We have We have our data and we store it in cloud, whether the cloud is in our premise or in somebody else's. So we don't really care, because conceptually we just throw in something into the cloud, but physically it could be still in our servers locally. But the concept is changed, because you don't think them as store this in certain kind of database and things like that, but just throw it in cloud. I don't want to know, I just push it there, and if I want to get it back, I want to get data, I want to get data. I don't really care how you store it, or you manage it, but just get me data. So the cloud computing has changed that. It used to be difficult, and and you have lots of data, like big data. These two are the killer applications these days, because there's big data, there's possibility to do many things with cloud computing. Then you can do so many things. Now, the fun part becomes this. Now you have everything here, and everything is interconnected. What about security? And usually security is an afterthought, because business process is the most important part. You have everything there, and everything used to be physically located in one place, so you can guard them. You can just create fences or whatever, right? Basically, you guard your perimeter, and everything is done. But these days, your perimeter is open. You want to access things from your home. You want to work from your home. Everything is open. So what we call is the attack surface is getting bigger. It used to be very simple, because you have perimeter, and all you have to do is just guard the entrance of the perimeter, the gate, kind of. You have 1, 2, 3 satpam. You have 1, 2, 3 IT satpam, and then that's it. But now it becomes more difficult, because you have everything, your data, everything is online. So cybersecurity became an issue, and it's still struggling. This is my field, and I know this is one of the biggest concern these days, and it's still going to be concern for the next years. We talked about Internet of Things later on in the class. I'm going to have, I think, 1 or 2 classes about Internet of Things. I'm going to ask you to program certain things. We'll see how we do bad things. But basically, everything is well connected. Everything is programmable, and because of the computing platform, because everything is cheaper. Okay, so yeah, we have all of this, and we have all these technologies, no technologies, and we are overwhelmed. I'm sorry, Pak. In my office, we have only 3%, Pak. How do we manage these 30 new technologies? Yeah, I know. Well, we don't have to master them all. What we can do is we can get people or teams or partners to master this thing. But let me have a quick, a look at this emerging technologies. We call them emerging technologies because they're emerging. It could be a fad, meaning that they emerge and then they die, or they become part of our lives. They stay and become part of our life. We'll see, because we still don't know. It's too early to tell. And there are slides that tell you about 13 new technologies, 5 new technologies, 10 new technologies, but it is okay. Let me go through one by one and make comments. Some of them. We're going to have this in our class. We're going to talk deeper about some of this, because it's just impossible to talk them all. And probably, in my opinion, also they're too early to be discussed. But we're going to talk to some of them. For example, the number is not in terms of importance. I think it's just I don't know the sequence, right, when they put the sequence. But I think it's just a random. First is artificial intelligence, what it is, and can it help us? Uh, AI is real these days. It used to be only for research and only for toy problems. Like you have AI solving, yeah, very simple task problems, very fancy stuff, not real world applications. But since computing is becoming better, and we have a large scale computing, then AI can be used in certain parts of our daily lives. So we can have what we call a narrow AI. It can solve certain kind of problems, and that's it. That's possible. It's not toy problems anymore, but we still do not have general AI which can solve everything, and we still I think it's still a long way to go. So AI is there. We're going to look at this, and AI is real. It's not fad. But again, can we use AI in our daily lives as like as ordinary person or part of our work in our offices? So we'll see that. The second one is Internet of Things. This is also interesting. In my opinion, this is also going to stay. I used to think that my field is electrical engineering, and at one point in time, we thought that electrical engineering is a dying field. It is a dying field. Why we thought about that? Because at one point, my students, when I have students doing their final projects, tugas akhir or thesis, or they do programming, web programming, like web programming this, web programming that. And I thought, we are EE students. You guys are EE students. Why are you doing web programming? There's no electronics here. There's no electric something. There's no hardware in it. So that's the thing, because we're not using hardware or anything like that. So I thought, forget about EE. Let's close EE, and then just focus on IT, or the fun part of that. But Internet of Things changed that. So electronics hardware becomes essential again. So funny to think about that. These days we are having shortage of chips. If you look at the industry these days, people are some businesses, we are scrambling to get chips, and we cannot get it. I think GM also in their manufacturing plants, they're slowing down because they cannot get chips to put in their cars. Right? Apparently, their cars need some chips, and those chips are not being manufactured fast enough. And the same thing, if you look at the price of SSD drives these days, they're not going down. Usually, prices are going down fast, but these days they're kind of stay the same because of the semiconductor industry. And I just found out about an hour ago. I read news about what's happening. It's still unclear to me why the lack, or the semiconductor industry, whether they have problems with manufacturing processes or anything like that. But the end result is we have problems with chips. That's basically the end result, and we are scrambling. So IoT is there. IoT is part of our lives. The third one is mobile social internet. This is the thing that interested. In many parts of the world, this mobile or social internet is new. I guess COVID-19 changed that, but it used to be new. But in Indonesia, we already know about this, and it is already part of our daily life, especially in big cities. So mobile phone, social internet is already in Indonesia, and it's already part of our lives. Now it's just bridging the digital divide to make it happen across Indonesia, but it is there. Um, if you look at many things in Indonesia and China, advances in mobile application, social interaction, things like that. And these days is the U.S. And when you look at the presidential election there, they could have learned from Indonesia. The things that have happened in Indonesian presidential election, they could have learned from us, mistakes that we have done. You know the agony that we are still facing with. Friends are not talking to each other because one is supporting Jokowi, the other one is supporting Prabowo. These days, I cannot imagine that is still happening, but it is there now. This part we're not going to talk about the class, but I try to get help from friends from the social fields, kind of, because in my opinion, internet and the IT technology, actually the field that is gaining the most of this is the social field. They now have tools to monitor people. They have no tools to analyze people. Their fit should, increase drastically. Just like when microscope was found, it was not magic. Apparently, it's bacteria. So now we know, okay, the problem is bacteria. It's not black magic or witches, or it's just bacteria. So health kind of as a field, become radically important. The same thing with internet. I think social studies should gain the most out of it, but I have not seen many research in this area. I know I've read some papers, but they should have the biggest impact. We're going to talk about blockchain in one of the class. We're going to talk blockchains. I'm not sure whether we're going to program it, but we're going to program not blockchain, but a certain technologies of the blockchain. Why is it important? Why not everything is blockchainable? Why some business process says should stay non-blockchain? Why some become blockchainable? And if you look at the one application of blockchain, which I could care less, is Bitcoin. Bitcoin now is rising very, very high, and people are, instead of doing something with their silicon or GPU, they're now mining Bitcoins these days. I know some friends who have their machines, computer, their kids running all this Bitcoin mining. I am not into that because I think that's the wrong way to go, but it is real. So blockchain is there, and it's becoming more important these days. The technology is there. Okay. Now, big data. Well, we're going to talk about big data later in the class. We're going to talk why is it's important. One second, I lost my cursor. Okay, why it is important and things like that. What is data science? We're not going to talk automation, although this is part of the fourth industrial revolution. This was actually part of the third industrial revolution. I'm not going to talk about robots. There are interesting things about robot. This is not my field, but it is there. Very good, because now we can program robots. What we say is we democratize programming robots, so everybody should be able to program robots. Immersive media, I'm not into this. I talked to some people who are doing AR, VR, and um, actually somebody was trying to contact me because there was an interesting application about women in not in technology, there's a history of women in currency. In the US, there's an AR application to see the what do you call it, uh, the history of women in industry. Anyway, mobile technologies is there. Now we know that. We'll skip this. Cloud computing is there. I'm not going to talk about this. It is there. We're going to talk a bit about this. 3D printing. I'm not familiar with the 3D printing. I know it's there. I went to several presentations. The last one was a presentation from a professor from MIT. She was the big cheese of MIT. She came here to our university last year before COVID, basically, and she talked about her research was impressive, and she convinced me that 3D printing is one of the things in the future, and also came into several applications that actually using 3D printing. We are using 3D printing, but as a user, not more than that. CX. This is when we talked about application UI, UX, CX. Energy tech, I'm not into this. I know this is important. Some of the IoT problems are related to energy. For example, we are building applications and devices to track bees. Bees. We'll talk more about when we talk about IoT. I'll talk more about tracking bees. One of the problem is energy. Okay. Cybersecurity is my field. We're going to talk about this. Voice assistant, I'm not going to talk about this, but I'm going to touch a bit about this as part of AI. Nanotechnology, this is the big thing. It used to be a big hype, but I have not seen kind of the revolutionized application of nanotech. It is there, and I thought there should be some sort of new thing, wow, thing about this, but I have not seen that. collaborative technology, it's there. It's there. I'm not going to talk bad. Technology, HCI, geospatial, there. Quantum computing. Quantum computing is real, but I'm not really into this. I hope I can get somebody to talk about quantum computing. Why is it's important? Smart cities, there are some expert in smart cities. If we need it, I can ask them to talk in our class. Edge computing, this is going to be part of Internet of Things. I'm going to talk Internet of Things and touch on Internet of Things. Faster internet, this is not a technology per se, but I have friends who are into this. In fact, one of the kind of not inventor, a scientist who actually into this 5G, 6G, Pak Khairul Anwar. He is a lecturer at Telkom University. I went to some his presentation. It was impressive, and he knew his technology so much. Like he had ideas, crazy ideas. Even for the 6G and 7G, they're already being thought of, which is crazy. Now, proximity technology, we talked about. This is in manufacturing, a beacon, self ID, and things like that. New screens. Well, we'll talk about this new screens in terms of because in my opinion, new screens are not that wow thing. It doesn't have the wow factor, but they're important. Okay. Anyway, we can have 30 or 50 new technologies, but you get my drift, right? Basically, there are many technologies that we have to master. It's just impossible. So that's why we have a team of people who are who are able to understand this technology, how to tame this technology. If we cannot understand it, we know the philosophical idea of this, and we ask somebody to help us to master this technology for our businesses, for example. Okay, now let's go back to the industry 4.0. Remember this one, industry 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution, and then we were moving narrowing down to industry 4.0. What's going on in Indonesia? What do we have related to in industry 4.0? Well, Kementerian Perindustrian launched an initiative a couple of years ago, which basically created an Indonesia Industry 4.0 Readiness Index, and they call it INDI 4.0. This is basically a measurement how ready we are in terms of Industry 4.0. But we should have similar to this, to fourth industrial revolution, just outside the manufacturing plant. We should have some sort of this for the general society. But again, people think, if you talked about the general society, then, we're talking about the society 5.0. Remember, you have third industrial revolution, second, third, and fourth industrial revolution. And the Germans, they have industry 4.0. And the Japanese, they want to get ahead, and they have, okay, now we have society 5.0. You can look it up and do some crazy things. I thought, as Indonesian, I thought we should have something, and we call it something 99.9, right? we jump ahead, we skip 6, 7, and we go to 99.9 exactly. So the next one is 100, which is crazy. I don't know what it is, but I think we have not the physical technology, we have also the metaphysical technology, right? Indonesians are very some Indonesians are very are into weird things, some things metaphysical. So if you have cyber physical, we have cyber physical and metaphysical. We have all this sihir and things like that. Anyway, let me close down with again references. This is a reference that I use. Let me stop sharing and let's do a question and answer. Okay, go ahead if you have a question.
Mister.
Go ahead. Okay, Fadli first. The others, raise your hand from this reaction so we can see who's going to ask next. Okay, go ahead, Fadli.
Yeah, I just want to get your feedback or your comment about the situation that I think in Indonesia now we are like in the stagnant in terms of the growth of the business or the economical. So I think will be challenging in the future if we would like to implement the industrial 4.0, because I think the huge impact will be in the number of the people, absorption of the people in the industrial, especially for the manufacturing. And this is the most segment that absorb a lot of the employee in Indonesia. So what do you think, sir? Because I think if the impact will be huge, and I think will be some resistance from the people itself. That the first question. The second
Okay,
question.
let's stop first question, and then you can ask a second question, okay? Because I forgot things. Okay, let me just answer the first question first. Yes, you are right. Part of the concerns that we have to see or we have to look at is the human aspect. Okay, because industry 4.0 definitely will use machines, machines to quote unquote replace persons for repetitive tasks, repetitive and sometimes boring tasks. The same thing, the industry 4.0, you have machines, robot, AI, and everything. And there's no questions that they will replace human. Well, Indonesia, we used to have a terminology called padat karya, right? Padat karya. If you can have more human resources, then let's have more human resources instead of machines. Now, but we have to learn from our experience. Okay, long time ago, there was a silicon electronics or silicon company in Bandung. This was a long time ago, and everything was done by human in the factories. Right? We have can't remember how many thousand factory workers in Bandung. Actually, it was in Bandung. National Semiconductor, I believe, was National Semiconductor. So this national semiconductor, they said, "Oh, okay, now we have robots." This was the third industrial revolution, right? Because if you have humans, if you do so many things like small things, you pick and place, you pick one components, you put it in PCB, you have to solder it, right? You can do it by human. Human definitely can do that, but machines can do it faster. You can have board, and then machine will pick a component, put it, pick, like machine can do it faster and with more precision and less error prone, and you can work it out for 8 straight hours or 24 hours if you want, right? So machines can do that. From the company's point of view, machines is very good. Machines should be used. But at that time, we think that, oh, okay, if you replace us, the human in the factories, then what should we do? And we're out of work. Now, the thing is, when you close a certain parts of the business process for human and replace it by machine, there's going to be another part, right, which is open. So basically, you move the human resources and you move it to another part or to a higher level, right? Basically, we didn't see that. We rejected. So the company said, okay, if you don't want to do that, then we have no options, but we have to close the factory. So they closed the factory and they left to Malaysia. So, what happened is that we lost the 1,000 jobs. That's it. So that was a lesson learned that we have to remember, right? We cannot say that because, we are afraid to be replaced by robots, and we don't want to do that. But from company's point of view, well, we have to balance things, right? So at the end of the day, we lost our jobs. We lost all of jobs, not part of the jobs, but all of jobs. And the factory went to Penang. So they started the company in Penang. So they have, the Penang, they have years, and then they have Intel there, and so on and so forth. We lost jobs, basically. So that's the thing that we have to see. Yes. Now, how do we balance it? That's a question that is tough. I know. Now I know it's not a problem for Indonesians only. Okay. A long time ago, when I started my biomedical company in Canada, long time ago, one of the devices that we want to develop at that time was a device to help physician or surgeons to help in operation, medical operation. So we want to develop this application or this device whereby a doctor can wear a glass, and move the application or the equipment according to the eye movement. So at that time, everything was done by command. So the doctor will say, "Oh, to a nurse or two nurses, okay, move it to the left, right, right, stop. Let me, cut or whatever. Let me sew or whatever. Like let me saw things or whatever. Like, but you have a nurse working on that. So we thought, okay, well, we should replace that with machines. Now, one of the biggest question at that time was that apparently there is a regulation. If I create a machine and this machine will replace certain kind of workers, I cannot do that directly. I have to find jobs for this person who are replaced by my machine. So they have that one too. So if you think about it, we thought, oh, okay, this is Indonesian problem. No, Canada also have that kind of protection, right? Well, they're still very aggressive. They have also protection because as a nation, then we know that we need jobs for our people. We know that, but you have to remember there has to be a balance between machines, human and machines. Now, from company's point of view, machines can uh, save money. Now, if you have machine, for example, who is going to program the machine? Then you need a human also, right? So from which like 1,000%, probably you have 100% who is going to program these machines, and we have another person who is going to service the machine, right? For example, so instead of having 100, you still keep 200, for example, and then this 800 you move it to another part of this business process in your plant to the certain things. So basically you replace things that are boring, yeah, that are, yeah, not of interest, there's no intellectual in it. You replace it with machines. Just like, for example, I know you can sweep your floor. I know you can wash your dishes, but you have pembantu, asisten rumah tangga doing it, right? Why? Because now you value more time, right? I can do that, but if I can do that, but then I have to spend my time doing that. Instead of that, I can take classes, I can, work and create more values. And based on that, a certain part of my values or my income, I can pay that to this person or to these machines. So you increase in your kind of value chain. So you have to think that, yes, how do we create more jobs for these people? So yeah, it is problem that we have to think about it. Now, on top of that, you mentioned again earlier as part of your introduction to that question is, I know that manufacturing is hit very hard by COVID-19. In Jawa Barat, this is one. Manufacturing is one of the biggest. Actually, two, right? Travel, basically, pariwisata and manufacturing. Those are two are the one that got hit very bad. Remind me to send the statistic that BPS produced a report about statistic in Indonesia in 2020, right? The statistic I have not forwarded to you, right? I'll send you to the group their report, the PDF, so you can see which industries got hit very hard by COVID. And there are only two areas that were not hit: agriculture and ICT, which is strange. ICT is still 10 point something percent plus. Agriculture, I don't know, I can't remember, +2 or +4, I forgot, but they're not a minus. The rest, everything is minus. Okay. So that's hopefully answered your first question. You still have the second question. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Pak Budi. The second question about the nanotechnology, I can imagine that in the future, if there is like nano camera, I think it will be with the privacy of the people, and I think will be a disaster in the future if there are some technology, and always as I know that the growth of the technology will be like exponential, and I cannot imagine that if there is like, for example, nanotechnology for camera, and people can put nano camera in the wall in every area, and there is no any more privacy in the future, So what do you think about that? Because I think will be have some rejection, and will be maybe saturated situation that will be protect the technology growth anymore. So
Okay.
what do you think about that?
Yeah. I know only small thing about nanotechnology, and I think one of the biggest hope for me in nanotechnology is in medical. So if you have, say, right now, if you have many people die because of blood related problems like heart disease, stroke, and things like that. Can you imagine if you can have robots and you put it inside your blood and it will clean all your cholesterol or your lemak in your darah, and it's become workers, and basically what they do, all these robots clean your mass and create jadi kayak menggaruk solokan gitu, solokan kita, aluran darah kita dibersihkan oleh robot-robot nano. So these nano robots, they clean our, it is great. I think it is great technology. It is for benefit of humankind. Okay, so nanotechnology is great in my opinion. So that's one thing that I hope it's there in my life. I just hope in my lifetime we have that kind of technology. Okay, now the second thing is also there always another side of technology. There's always the good side and the bad side. People can use this technology to do bad things, as you mentioned about privacy and things like that. I'm more concerned not about privacy, but people can use this, or countries can use this nanotechnology to attack other countries, right? They can create a small flies, for example, what lalat, or a small, I don't know, mosquitoes, and then deploy them to attack other countries. So instead of sending all these big planes, just send small. The Ant-Man kind of the movie, the Ant-Man, right? Send Ant-Man and you all create havoc in countries, right? Create disaster in other countries. That's possible. Yeah, I think that's possible. I think I'm more scared into that. Now, about privacy, what do you think about privacy? Well, maybe we should have a discussion more about privacy later on, right? We'll have one session about privacy. I think, in my opinion, privacy is overrated. Well, as an Indonesian, I don't really care about privacy. But when I came to Canada, I became Westernized, and for so many years I am Westernized. I am, certain parts of me are Westernized. Certain parts, business processes Westernized. For example, I still wait in line for people. I hate it when people cut in line, because I used to wait in line. If some Indonesian cut in line, I said, "No, mas, ngantri mas. Sorry mas, ngantri mas." I do that because I'm Westernized. Because in Canada you have to be in line, you have to wait, get your turn, right? I said, get your turn. If the person is he or she doesn't want to do it, then usually I complain in English, so that they not feel offended. I said, I speak in English. I swear in English, and hopefully, if I can do it in French, I'll do it in French, so that they don't get offended. But that's the thing. Now, in terms of privacy, I'm Westernized. When I came back to Indonesia, there are many things that I don't like. For example, if I give a speech, right? For example, if I'm making presentation in Indonesia, usually they give you a form. Biodata, Pak Budi, can you fill in biodata? Okay, my name, nama, alamat, tempat tanggal lahir, hobi, agama, and things like that. And I usually said, what does this have to do with my presentation? What does religion have to do in my presentation? It has nothing to do with my presentation. What's my birthday anything to do with my presentation? Yeah, it has nothing to do. Just put Budi Rajo and be done with it. Or if you can put credential. I graduated from this, fine. But other stuff, that's my privacy. It doesn't have anything to do with my presentation. Okay. So that was my reaction when I came into Indonesia first time. Every time somebody want to do my, I would fill out forms hesitantly. And one occasion, actually, I filled with wrong information. Yeah, I just put anything.